Hi everyone, welcome to the new driving school car. Now, I'm not going to make a big, massive deal of this, if I was honest. For me, a car is a work tool, but I know people have been interested in what I've bought and why I've bought it. So, honestly, here we go. The car itself is a 2019 BMW 3 Series, and it's a 320D, it's a diesel. It's a manual car as well. Go through that decision in a sec. Let me just get over this bridge. Okie dokie. So yeah, I bought a diesel. Why did I buy a diesel today? Diesels, the things that are polluting the world and the atmosphere. Well, honestly, the reason why I bought a diesel was because it was the only car in this BMW 3 Series range that is a manual gearbox, or you can get with a manual gearbox. And although I don't have to have a manual, the work that I do with driving instructors, honestly, it's better. Your instructors who you train and who you teach have then got a greater, wider knowledge on more stuff. If you just train in an automatic, which you can, honestly, I feel people are let down and sort of left short with a few things. So that was the reason behind getting the 320 diesel. If they'd done the 320 petrol or the 318 petrol in a manual gearbox, probably would have gone for that if I was honest. But saying that, I don't even know whether they do a 318 in a new model. I don't think they do, but I would have gone for a petrol car if possible. So with me having to have a manual, it rules out electric. A few of you may already know that I did have my name down for Tesla Model 3 when they first got announced. I put my £1,000 deposit down, but when they were released in the UK, they were way too expensive. They were about £38,000. So there's no way in the world that that would have been economic for a driving school car. I did touch on my last video that I did when I got rid of the 1 Series about the economics of it, and it has to play a big role in choosing a car. You may think, well, why the hell have you bought a 3 Series? Well, if I was honest, the extra cost of this compared to the 1 Series wasn't that much. If I was honest, this wasn't brand new. It's about 6 months old. It arrived with just about 5,000 miles on, and there was a big discount from the new price. So that's what I did, and honestly, with the residuals of this particular car and with the mileage that I do, it's not that much more expensive than the 1 Series. So that was one of the reasons behind it. Other cost wise, let's have a little think about these. Fuel economy has been near enough identical. I can't tell the difference between what this car has been doing fuel wise and what the last car has been doing fuel wise, so honestly there's no issues with that. Insurance wise, this was a little more expensive. It's quite a high group insurance for driving school cars. I think most driving school policies were only allowed to go up to 30, and this is a 29, I think, so it was a little bit more expensive. It was about £280 for the year more expensive than the 1 Series, so there's a little bit of added cost for that. But the actual running of the car, hopefully I haven't bought a lemon. Now, already you may have seen on the community post that I posted a week or so ago that the car has been into BMW to go and get fixed. It's been in a couple of times for the same thing. Effectively what happened was I got up one morning and I'd set the option of when you lock the car for the mirrors to fold in. I just think that that's a safer thing to do. It's less likelihood of someone taking your mirror off, although my car's very rarely parked anywhere bar from my path, if I was honest. So I still do it. I still get those mirrors to fold in. If I am parked in a supermarket, there's less chance of a trolley getting whacked into a mirror, or if you're parked on the road, a car coming past and taking them out. But when I got up to go to work morning last week, got in the car, switched it on, and they didn't unfold. The mirrors stayed folded in. So I got on the phone to BMW Assistance, and as I was on the phone to BMW Assistance, and by the way, BMW Assistance is sort of like a recovery service that BMW provide, and what they're able to do is come and fix things at your house if you've got a major problem. But they did not deem my mirrors not working as a major problem, because as I was speaking to them, they actually unfolded. So it got booked in, and honestly, when I took it in at the start of the following week, which was this week, I'm filming on a Saturday, and it was Monday that I took it in, it honestly didn't get sorted in that day. There was a problem with communication with BMW Assistance and BMW Service Centre. So I've had a little problem. It's been back in Thursday. The mirrors are now supposed to have been fixed, but it's also due in on the 20th of this month to go in and have some remedial work done. It's not necessarily a recall, but there's some other work to the wiring loom that this car's got to have. So I'm a little concerned. This car is full of electrical gizmos and toys, if you like, and honestly it doesn't give me a load of confidence that I've already had a big problem with. Well, big. I've already had a problem with it. So we'll keep you posted on that front. Another little problem that I've had, and I was blessed with the 1 Series, I'm not having to change tyres. I've already had to have a rear tyre on this car. It wasn't worn out. Unluckily, I had a puncture. That was right on the outside corner of the wheel, and when they are in that place, you can't get them repaired. So honestly, I had to have a new tyre. I tend to buy decent tyres I put the original Michelin's on it, and it was about £190 fitted. So honestly, not off to the best of start. Now I'm just going to hold fire just for a little minute just on what I'm talking about, because we've got a guy who's really close up behind. I haven't got my roof box on today, so this proves that anyone can tailgate anyone. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut this for a sec. I'm going to pull off the road, I'm going to go into a side road, turn around, and I'll get going in a minute. I'm slow and really early and controlled, lessening the risk, and off we go. So I'll just whiz it round, and then we'll get going again. In fact, what a perfect opportunity. I can show you actually a couple of the things that this car's got. It's got, which the last car didn't, it's got reversing cameras. Also, the other thing that's pretty important, for some people, not for me, these lines that are actually on the screen, they actually move when the steering wheel moves. I know I'm dry steering a little bit there. So it shows you how sharp you're actually going to turn. Now, as with most things, there's no in the world I'm going to teach a pupil to actually do things solely with this screen. We can use it as an aid, and that's not a problem, but I'll always teach people to do things properly. So that's really important. But this, is it a big thing? No, but it does actually help me do my job. So that's one thing that's been a good thing with this car. So we'll get back on it again. And I was talking about the tyre, wasn't I? So yeah, a tyre for this car, about £190. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen too often, but saying that, I think even in the 1 Series, I think a rear tyre, and the tyres on a lot of BMWs are a little bit wider than the fronts, the rear ones are. So I think a rear tyre for the 1 Series was 150, 160 pounds. So the difference in cost from the last car to this car isn't a massive amount, so it's not a big deal. What about how the pupils have taken to it? And that's the most important thing for me. I've had no issues whatsoever, absolutely nothing. Everything's been really good. Just going to whack my sunglasses on a second, peeps. It's a bit bright. So yeah, the pupils have had no issues whatsoever. They've taken to it really well. Some people have said, is it a little bit too big? Well, the feedback from the pupils is that they haven't felt that difference whatsoever. They sit in this car in a little bit higher position. One of the complaints that I had with the last car is that you sat really low in it, and even with the seat at the highest level, it still wasn't brilliant. So this has been much better, and that height adjust and the seating position has honestly made the transition to this car very easy. People used to struggle a little bit steering in the 1 Series. I thought it was just me having people who struggled to steer, but honestly, could the car have had a little bit to do with it in hindsight? Well, yes, it could have, because they've been much better with this. They seem to sit that little bit higher, see a little bit more of the corners that they're going to go around, and they seem a little bit more relaxed. So that's all a good thing. Power wise, it is a little bit more powerful than the last car. Have I used it much in that way? No. Honestly, it's nice to have it in the background if I'm going to do some emerging onto a motorway and I need to put my foot down and safely stay in front of a lorry. I've got that little bit extra, but honestly, it's not been a big plus for me. Has it been a problem for the pupils? No. What I've been saying to people, and it's really important to understand this, that you can always drive a faster car slower. And it's as simple as that. It's only as fast as you press the pedal. So there's never an issue. If you use your pedals progressively, lightly at the start, and increase smoothly, and use it in a progressive manner, there's no reason ever that you should get yourself into problem. Even driving my Mrs. M3, if you use it in a respectful way and use it progressively, you'll never get yourself into trouble. So always take that on board when you're driving a new car. One of the things that I actually said to a lot of the pupils when we were actually starting the first lesson, I was saying to them, do you know what the clutch feels like? No. Do you know how the gas feels like? Do you know how sensitive it is? Not really, no. Maybe have a little go now while we're parked at the side of the road. I said, but how do you think then you should be moving the car off the first few times until you get used to it? And the answer's simple. Gently, smoothly, progressively, lightly. Take a lot of care with it. Don't try and rush. So we've had very few issues with the car. I always teach pupils to use the gas properly first and feed the power in smoothly, and that's worked no problem with this car. There is a little benefit that we can not see on cameras, but we've got a head-up display. I'll try and get a little video of this a little bit later for B-roll, but the head-up display has been a use as well, because it stopped people staring at the actual screen all the time and the dials, which is one thing that I'm forever saying to people. But will that then be a problem when people haven't got that? Well, it might. So I'm going to do a few little things to actually help in that situation over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to let the pupils have this head-up display, which can show all different things. It can show speed, it recognises speed limits, this car, which is it seems as though it's a good idea, but honestly it's not very accurate. So I've told my pupils to ignore that, but what I'm going to do with this head-up display over the next few weeks I'm going to let the pupils get used to it, and then I'm going to be the absolute arse, as I am always. I'm going to take it off them, I'm going to turn it off. So there's always going to be a way of introducing and implementing new technology into cars. It's going to evolve. I had a few comments about the electric handbrake. Now, honestly, is it really that difficult for people to work out? It's like an electric window switch. How hard's that? Yes, there may very well be some people who haven't got used to the old style handbrake, but honestly, it doesn't really take much to work out once you can control a car, so it's not a big deal. And I will always go through that with the pupils as well. But this new technology, it's always going to be put into new cars, and what you have to do, you have to show people how to use it, but you also have to make them ready and prepared to drive any car. So for everyone who's saying that you should only drive in a basic car, I sort of get that argument, but what then when they come to buy a new car that has got one of these technological features and they can't use it? How many of you out there learnt in a car with ABS? I know I didn't. I remember the first car that I had with ABS. I was coming towards a set of lights, went over a manhole cover, it was in wet, greasy weather, and honestly my brake pedal juddered. And I didn't have a clue what it was. I actually took the car to my local garage to go and get it fixed. So embrace this new technology. Don't be sort of like poo-pooing it and no, we can't have this and we can't have that. Honestly, any decent driving instructor, not an issue to teach with these modern aids, but you have to still let your pupils know what to do in any vehicle. That's the mark of a good teacher. We've got a little bit of extra space in this car as well. I have actually been in the back. Well, it's been driven and there's much more room for the big oaf, which is me. So that's going to be a help on a few occasions when people are on test and when we've got instructors sat in the back watching me doing lessons. So that's going to be a big help. But honestly, the rest of the stuff has been quite simple and quite easy. There are a few things that I don't really like. We have gesture control. I think I mentioned it with Erin on Erin's first lesson. Erin was the first student to actually drive this, so I did mention a gesture control, and quite simply you can twist your finger and it turns the actual radio up, and because we've got no source selected, it didn't turn the actual radio up, but you can twist your finger to turn it up, you can twist your finger to turn it back, and honestly it can get in the way. And I've actually, apart from today, turned it off because I do talk with my hands a fair bit. So honestly, it was forever on lessons turning the radio up. So I've binned it. That for me is just a gimmick. I don't think there's anything there that's of any use. I would rather have my hands on the steering wheel and use these buttons here down on this side to turn the radio up. I know exactly where they are and I can keep my hands both on the wheel, that if that emergency situation happens, I can sort it straight away. So there's no real need for that for me. Anything else that springs to mind? Honestly, no. The look of the car, I like it. That's why I bought it. I do like these new 3 Series. There was a little bit in my mind, should I go for one of the new 1 Series, but honestly, I don't like the look of them. I think they're a lot better potentially for what I could have needed a driving school car than the last 1 Series. However, for me, they're ugly things, so I honestly chose to just go, well, sod it, we'll go and get a 3 Series, a little bit more space, a few more toys. I'm in this place quite a lot, so why not have as much luxury as we can actually afford, and it's economic. So that was pretty easy, that choice, compared to the 1 Series. One thing that has, let's say, been a little issue, slight issue, I probably would say, would be the dual controls in this. There are dual controls in this. It's one of the requirements of my insurance. It needs to be dual controlled. I would not teach without dual controls, if I was honest. I think that barrier of risk jumps too high for me in a car without dual controls. Teaching novices, if you're teaching an experienced driver, it may very well be a fair bit different, but the dual controls in this car are not specifically designed for this car, and honestly they're not brilliant. They're the universal set and they do work, brake works, clutch works, but honestly, because they're not designed specifically for this car, they're not brilliant. The feel for them isn't brilliant, but at the end of the day, a little bit for demonstration you might use these dual controls, but generally they're for emergency situations. So can I still stop in an emergency? Yes. Is it more difficult for me to then demonstrate stuff with the clutch and the biting point using my dual controls? Yes. Does that matter? No. Just find different ways of actually showing pupils things, adapt and change, and suppose it puts the onus on me to get the pupils at a better level. So honestly, there's no issues with that. All in all, I'm made up with the car. It is actually drawing a fair bit of attention, so as always I'm going to have to be on my best behaviour. No speeding for me, no driving poorly. I've got standards to set, but it is drawing a fair bit of attention, which in a way is good because it promotes the driving school and the good things we do and the quality that we have at the driving school. Really proud of all my instructors and how they go about their work and their business. So that's a representation of the driving school. So all in all, I'm really happy with it. I've not made my full mind up yet, so this is first initial review. I might do another one of these in 6 months and see whether there's anything that has come up in that time. But in the meantime, I'd like people to ask anything they like about the car. I'll be really glad to answer. I know some people have commented that they've driven and they've actually got one of these new G20 3 Series and they love it, and I do. The balance is just pure BMW. The feel is amazing, and honestly it's a nice place to be, so I'm well happy with it. But the most important thing, the students have taken to it, so all good for now. So hope I haven't bought a lemon, remember. Thanks a lot for watching everyone, and I'll see you all soon.